cute idea that was come up with atmospheric cupping. Okay, using atmospheric cupping, it is actually possible to actually do some cute things. Most things are flat and smooth, and they use flat, smooth stuff. But a new concept came out. It's basically like a golf ball. It works like a golf ball, and that's what the Buran spaceship actually is. It's pretty much a golf ball, and actually has a lower drag ratio than anything else, and it uses atmospheric cupping as the effect or the basis of its effect, and it actually it actually reduces the amount of heat which is transferred to the ship. It was a new idea basically, or a crazy idea, using if the hot air, if the heat, you're using the air as a shield basically, and basically if the heat never actually reaches the skin of the aircraft, you can reduce the temperatures, and you're actually using a shock wave to actually cushion your air. But it's like, are you crazy? It's like, yeah, ain't it cool? And yeah, it works. It's crazy. But atmospheric, the Buran uses atmospheric cupping to actually work. What it is basically, it's just like a golf ball. It's basically based on the same concept as a golf ball, and it was an untested, unknown idea basically that they tested out, and it seemed to work. So they decided to do it for real, and a little bit less drag, yeah. But it actually reduced the amount of engines or whatever. It can actually power to space and back. Using some computers, you could probably refine it a little bit more. But it's basically based on the idea of the same concept as a golf ball, how a golf ball flies through the air, and the shape of the wing and the air moving across it actually provides the airstream basically, and basically there's always a little bit, it's just like a pickup truck without a camper shell. A pickup truck without a camper shell actually goes at the same rate as if it had a camper shell, or faster than one with a camper shell, because it creates that little aerodynamic whatever, and basically the air moves with you or something like that. Anyway, it's basically based on that idea, and the whole theory was, would it reduce the amount of heat to the space shuttle? Would the amount of air be able to? Would the air actually reduce the heat? So there was a lot of money poured into it, and it's a new concept basically of flight or whatever. It's like the next generation flight ship, whatever, to reduce the drag on wings, because as the air, it's just like in water, as the air moves across the surface of the wing, any bumps or that's friction basically. So what they do is they use cupping, just like a golf ball, and they actually reduced, I think they reduced it by like 5% or 30% or something. It worked. $120 million and or something like that, and a lot of research and design and lots of computer modeling and all kinds of other stuff to figure out the exact right shape for the Buran, Buran spacecraft, and it's basically revolutionary. It's first of its kind, the best and the brightest of basically 1970 or 1960 or something like that, or some year, basically put their heads together to come up with the Buran. And it's a revolutionary new spaceship, and would basically be better than everything else, because at supersonic speeds you have a shock wave anyway, but still you still have that air moving around you. Eventually it begins to get this shock wave. Anyway, it doesn't really, I don't know, it's a question of whether or not it really works, because you get it does work, but you get the shock wave in front of you anyway, so flying at speeds is more like at high speed. You're not really flying so much as you're basically moving through the air or falling, basically, because you're moving so fast, you're actually going across the earth. Anyway, aerodynamics changes as you get up to Mach and supersonic speeds, basically. And so anyway, though, we spent a lot of money on the Buran, and I did anyway. and it was a really cool spacecraft. I mean, it's way more advanced than the standard space shuttles. Like the standard, the old space shuttle used asbestos ceramic tiles, basically, that would crack off. The Buran doesn't use asbestos ceramics tiles at all. It's just made of tougher metal. Yeah, it's tougher. It's just tougher, so it's more interchangeable. It doesn't wear out as much. And basically, it's more scary because it's like the metal's actually wearing away. Anyway, though, but yeah, it's a much better. It was in 1970 or 1980. It was a brand new spaceship and was revolutionary and much more advanced than the normal. And I don't really understand why they mothballed it and killed it like they did, because I mean it's. I guess maybe because it wasn't JFK or John McCain or whatever. It was the world or whatever, but it's a much more advanced, much better spaceship, and it really is sad because it's something that my team, one of my teams, or someone did. We ended up going with it with the other spaceship because we had more of them, and the Buran was supposed to take over for it, but that never happened because I don't know. I mean, they decided to go with rockets or something like that, and. Anyway, though, so or they already had the other one or something like that. The other one was cheaper by some amount, but not really cheaper. The Buran was better. I'm better. So anyway, I don't know why they didn't use it more than they did. It's really sad, and it really upset a lot of Russians and a lot of Indians and a lot of other people that put their heart and soul into that shit. I mean. By the time it was ready, I mean, it was really basically not needed, but still, it stands as basically a testimony to me, and languished basically unknown and forgotten for years, just like me. And it was really sad because it's a glorious spaceship and uses a new concept called atmospheric cupping or whatever to basically fly through the air and basically reduce drag on it. And also it increases, it makes it so you don't really need as buff of a heat shield. Because the air is circulating, so it works differently. Instead of the air hitting against it, it basically the heat mostly gets diverted around it. Basically, is the idea. Basically, because otherwise the molecules go up against you, but if the molecules are going around in a circle, it reduces the heat to the skin to the hull of the ship by quite a bit. And it seemed to work. I mean, we tested it and it worked, so it works. But anyway, yeah, it's sad that it got forgotten. Like me.